My name is Chris Rhinehart. I am project lead and co-founder of Human Head Studios, currently working on Prey. Not to give a lot away without kind of revealing any spoilers, but a lot of the things we have kind of later in the game are big enhancements of some of the stuff earlier in the game. When we first planned the game out, we had like a set point where like halfway through is when you first encounter gravity. 3/4 of the way through is when you first encounter gravity on a sphere. And that stuff's so cool that we decided to put a lot of it earlier in the game so that people can kind of experience it within the first few levels because it turned out so cool. So we took a lot of that stuff and put it earlier in the game, but there were a number of things that didn't quite make it earlier in the game. So without giving too much away, one of the big things that we have actually that is in a really cool place is the ability to do fully dynamic geometry, where there's like areas you're walking along and the level kind of explodes in front of you and reforms right in front of you. Yeah, that feature is pretty similar to at the beginning of the Roadhouse when the roof rips off. And essentially what it is the engine just kind of allows us to do a lot of dynamic stuff. You can move things around and the lighting just naturally works with that. So when we discovered that worked, we kind of ran wild and experimented with different ways that we could move stuff around and just have everything function correctly. When we first were designing Prey, we didn't have a plan to have vehicles in there. It was mainly going to be, more of a corridor shooter with some crazy alien elements as well. But as we were going through kind of our R&D phase, one of our programmers wanted to prototype a vehicle. And so he kind of came up with kind of a flying shuttlecraft that is kind of like a hovering shuttlecraft, where you can totally rotate it, you can fly around. It's really open. And after we discovered how well that worked, we went back and we retro-built a number of levels to kind of fit this shuttlecraft. So there are like 4 or 5 different places in the game where you actually get this flying ship, and it ranges from kind of a small area where you've got kind of a puzzle that you have to solve using some of the features of the ship, but also ranges to really wide open spaces where you have like a giant dogfight battle next to a huge asteroid, that type of stuff throughout the game. And actually 2 of the main features of the main vehicle are, because all of our weapons have like a fire and an alt fire, well the vehicle also has a similar thing like that. It has a normal blasting fire, but the alt fire is actually a tractor beam. So you can use that to pick up enemies and fling them. You can use it to hold on to enemies while you're fighting them. You can also use it to solve puzzles by dragging things out of the way or stacking things, so on and so forth. In Prey, when we were designing the boss battles, we want to come up with one main thing that the boss battles were going to be memorable. So we were really focused on trying to come up with unique elements as you're fighting the creatures to while you're playing the boss battles, that you kind of think to yourself, wow, this is really new, this is different, this is kind of unique. So that's what we kind of did while we were designing the battles. And a lot of the bosses do have kind of a trick to them, kind of the classic boss thing where while you're fighting them, you kind of have to learn and figure out what kind of technique you need to get around to fight them. One of the bosses, there's actually multiple ways to kill that particular creature, so it'll be interesting. There's kind of the main pathway, and then there's kind of a secondary way. And it's going to be interesting to see how many people actually find either way, because possibly the main pathway won't actually be the main pathway when it gets out to everyone playing it. There are absolutely plot points throughout the entire game. I really think the story has a lot of really key points throughout it. There are a couple places where it is mainly run and gun as you're kind of getting from one point to another, but definitely there are key points that kind of keep you going throughout the whole story. So it's not like at the beginning the story doesn't just drop off after level 3. No, there's story continuous throughout the entire game. Look for Prey, released simultaneous for PC and Xbox 360 in July, and check out the demo, available immediately.